So every project you undertake, you're going to have to issue a bit of paperwork. It's just how it works, unfortunately. I get it. Now, to make it super easy, if you're part of our franchise group, then you can access all of this through Pipedrive. If you're not, then I recommend you set up a template. So all we do for our ones, we have a pre-written template that has hi and then placeholder for the first name. And then we just say, thank you very much for choosing us for the project. Please find attached the following documents that relate to this project. Now, this gets sent to the customer as well as our staff that are undertaking the project so that they have a copy of the exact same documents. It's really important they get a copy of this as well. So this is after the quote has been approved and agreed with the customer. This is literally a mobilization, if you like, almost to say, great, we're coming on site, we're going to be doing the work. This is the paperwork you're going to need for when we arrive. Here it is. So for us, we're going to be issuing a copy of the COSH documents. Now, COSH, for those based in the UK, is regarding the paints and equipment we're going to be using. It's an assessment on them itself. So we're looking at the hazards and the risks associated with using it. For the US, North America, or perhaps anywhere else in the world, you're going to have your own localized version of a COSH assessment, which is essentially to say how safe a product is and what cautions or precautions you may need to have in place for it. Next, we're going to be having the risk assessment. So again, for here in the UK, we call it RAMS, risk assessments and method statements. This is going to be attached to the email as well. And that's the document that we're going to be completing in RAMS app and then attaching to this email. The construction phase plan is to do with CDM. Now, here in the UK, we have a construction phase plan that stipulates what everybody's role is in this construction project. So, for example, if I'm just working with you as my customer and I'm installing it, I might be responsible as the principal contractor, as well as the health and safety sort of representative of my own staff, or perhaps you've got someone there on your site, and I might stipulate that you're responsible for welfare provisions, such as water and toilets, for example, for while my staff are there. So it's important all of that's documented out as well. And then lastly, we have the site enablement document. Now, this is something that we've created ourselves, and it's something that we ask our customers to sign before we start the project to cover things, because naturally when you get to a site, people tend to sort of assume that you're going to take control, do everything you need, and they can sort of step back. And while that is sort of the ideal scenario, there's often cases of, for example, equipment in the way. They still need to move stock. Things are going to be happening in the background to run their business, and that could interfere with us doing our project. And so we need to agree all of this in advance. The area is going to be clean. There's going to be space for us to work. There's no restrictions, etc. So to do this, what we'll do, the site enablement document, again, we use PandaDoc for. It's a templated product. So for those on the franchise, you can literally download and start editing this straight away. Anyone else, I would suggest you set up the site enablement document. I've got a copy that you can use of ours as a PDF, but if you're using PandaDoc, you can then just literally create that into the PandaDoc yourself. So all I've said on here is it comes from my company to your company, and it simply says, I've read and reviewed the supplied COSH documents for the project. Now, the reason we put this in is because we've got to site before and the customer said, that paint really smells. Actually, we're not happy about that going down. I would much rather have said up front, this is the product, these are the precautions. We're going to have to wear a face mask. It's solvent borne. You're going to need the doors open. You need good ventilation. It's much easier just to get that clarified in writing up front. So they've read the COSH and they're happy with that product that's being installed. Next, we've agreed the hours for the project. The last thing I want to do is turn up and you say, actually, we've got a lorry turning up, delivering some stock or moving some items. This isn't going to be ready until 4:00 in the afternoon. Come back then. Again, that's going to incur an out of hours cost, a huge hindrance to my guys. We need to agree up front what the hours are. So we'll have already said the hours within the quote where they have the options to pick the different items, but this is just re-agreeing it again and saying you do understand these are the hours we're working. Next, we've selected the curing time. So again, within our quotation, we offer a few different products and we want to make sure the customer's happy. I don't want to be putting something down that's a 24-hour cure per coat, having to do 2 coats of it, and the customer saying, I need the area back in an hour. It simply isn't possible. So we understand what the product is, how long it's going to take to cure, what precautions there are. For example, do we need to wear face masks or respirators, or is it a really low VOC, which is to say there's virtually no smell, so we're comfortable putting it down in the day. Next, we've got the areas. Now, this one's something we come up quite often is we're putting some lines in across a warehouse or across a car park. There's cars in the way, there's forklifts in the way, there's pallets in the way. The area's been pre-agreed. We know where we're installing it. What we're asking for you to do is just make sure it's clean and clear. I don't want to turn up and then have to move all of your stock for you or arrange for all of your cars to go to a different car park. I expect you to have taken care of that before we arrived on site. And if it needs traffic management or anything else, then that should have been pre-agreed. Next, it's the surface. So we will look at your surface and say, we believe it's in a good state of repair. But if you've spilt diesel on the ground, for example, there's not a great deal we can do without resurfacing. Similarly, if you've got AdBlue or anything else for your vehicles, or even inside, if you've spilt a chemical on the ground, let's say it's flammable, or if there's a problem, whatever it might be, we need to make sure that's cleaned up before we get there. Because more often than not, you'll turn up and somebody can't move something, or there's a spillage, and it's down to us to, work around it. And typically that means if it can't be done, we've got to come back and do another visit. Again, it costs more money, more downtime. And I'd much rather just agree up front that you've got the area completely clear and we're literally ready to start. And then lastly, we've got cars parked over lines. And this is really important because we get to car parks typically and one or two cars are still stuck and they haven't been moved in time. And it's almost impossible to then work around them. So we then have to do another visit, which of course is going to be chargeable. Not many people want that. So agreeing again, the cars are definitely going to be moved. And that really leads nicely into the access arrangements. So if we get to site, for example, and your vehicles are stuck in the way, you can't move them, it's going to take you another hour or two to get people moving them. It's fine to a degree, but we're going to charge for it. So for us, for example, we charge £180 an hour, which is the equivalent of around $200 an hour for every hour or part hour that we're sat there. Now, this is something that I make the customers sign before we go. And then I always give them a video of what to expect. So when we get to site, they have a video and it says, this is what to expect. We're going to turn up. We expect the area clean. We expect to be able to put the paints down here, the working equipment over here, and to be able to literally crack on with the job. Your permits will be pre-written for us, ready to go. All we need to do is the site induction, sign the paperwork, and we can literally start working after that induction. We expect you to come back and check at the end of the day to sign things off. And really, it's just about clarity and communication with the customer. So this part's really important, and that's why I like having the video in there. Lastly, we're just reiterating these are the terms and conditions that you agreed to within your quotation. Now, if there are any changes, you can add them into here as well. But this, I think, is a very standard document that you can issue out straight away. So after the site enablement document, I would use this and add it as a link. So all I would do is literally generate the link by, as you guys know, using PandaDoc, use the template, generate the links, copy it, and then you can paste it down onto your email template. The next one after the SED, the site enablement, is the CPP. So for this one here, it's a construction phase plan. And this, again, we're going to generate this from Pipedrive. So we'll create the document in Pipedrive, it'll bring it up in PandaDoc, and it will populate with all the customer's details. And all we're adding on here is who's running the project, who's the health and safety advisor, when have we issued the documents, and then literally it's the dates we're going to be carrying out the work. So we can put a start date, a finish date, and then we can add the CDM duty holder. So this is overall who's responsible for delivering this project. In this case, for example, it could be me, it could be somebody else, it could be another company that's doing a major project and I'm just a small part of it, but we need to add all of this in. Again, we might clarify who designers are, principal contractors. In this case, it could just be us. We'll add our details in. Who's responsible for our health and safety? So we use Essential Safety Limited. So again, if you're part of the franchise group, then you can use Essential Safety. They'll provide that health and safety support for your business as well. And really, it just clarifies everything throughout the project. Who's responsible for what? Now, it's very rare you get asked for this document, but it's really important to have a copy. If, for example, the health and safety exec were to turn up on site and ask for information on who's responsible for what, this is the document you would hand to them and say, this covers absolutely everything. It says who's responsible for this, that, the other, who's on site, and it literally lists everything we're going to do. It doesn't clarify the risks and the hazards. That's separate within your RAMS pack, but this is one of the most important documents you're going to add as well. So once you're done, again, you're going to click send, copy that link, add that into the email just as a link right here. Now, the other documents that we have, the COSH documents, because we do them so often, we actually have them stored on the website. So for those of you in the franchise group, you can see them live on the website. You can download them yourself, but by clicking on the link, this will take the customer straight to that website where they can literally download those links for the project as well. And then lastly, the RAMs, again, you're just going to add as an attachment to the email. And then all we're going to do is send this off. Now, there is a video link in here as well. Now, I appreciate the link was already included in the SED document, but again, it requires people to go through the document, read all the way down. They do have to sign it, but they may not have watched the video. So we add another one in to the email as well as another link where they can watch it and say, again, this is what to expect. It clarifies everything that's in this email, and this is what you need to do about it. That's it for this video. So I will see you guys in the next one.